What I hear you saying too is that first step is your own self-assessment. And I think there's a lot of people looking outward, right, for somebody to find what they are. So you just showing up as your authentic self. Yeah. And keeping it real, which we know is not only an asset, but it's rare. Probably why you are standing out in these rooms of like, oh, wow, this person truly is here to learn, truly is here to connect.
We live in a society where people just want to take. And, it's like, yeah, you see someone and you reach out to like, hey, can you be my mentor? And it's like, hey, like, what can you give them? Kind of sort of like, it's like everyone want to take, and not even get to know you, or, it's like that. And you want them to be your mentor, but you might not even really like them. So I just feel like you just need to gradually create a relationship with people.
It's time to pivot in your confidence, career, and compensation with the 5-Minute Career Hack Podcast every Monday and Thursday. Now, get ready for a special interview curated just for you.
We are so excited about these interviews that we get to do because we, make a lot of commitments around our own personal and professional development, but we get so excited about these individual conversations that we believe is a big part of our learning, which is exposure. And these interviews do not disappoint because you get exposed to amazing people that just have certain qualities I think we can all learn from. And today will not disappoint. I have here Miss Ebony Staten. But before we get started in this conversation, I'm going to tell you all a little bit about her, and obviously she'll get there. But, if you're following us on YouTube, please subscribe right now. You're going to want to share this episode. And as I always say, make sure you have your notebook, because I always have my notebook. I always come ready to learn because I know there will be some gems that will be shared. And as always, something that we can learn from your life journeys. Without further ado, Ebony, welcome to the 5-Minute Career Hack.
Thanks for having me.
I'm so excited. So this is the awkward part. So when we have to read your bio, we always think like, what are they talking about? But you know who we're talking about. So Ebony believes that one's personal sense of style should seamlessly extend to their living space. Her goal is to provide fashion-forward home design services that enhance and uplift the lifestyle of her clients. As the principal and founder of the Vogue Room, Ebony hails from Charlotte, North Carolina. So anybody from North Carolina represent. So excited to have her here. Her educational background is rooted in technology. She earned her undergraduate and master's degrees from the North Carolina Central University. Yes, represent. Ebony's unique blend of tech savviness and innate sense of style sets her apart as a dynamic force in the world of interior design and home decor. And I'll tell you in a little bit, I personally can attest to that. I can. But Ebony's pathway also led her to the formation of the Vogue Room Foundation, which is a 501c nonprofit organization. I would have to say, like, there's none like it. Is that fair to say? Like, it's a first? We're going to say, let's say we're trying here.
But it's not that many of us in the space at all. Yeah.
Okay, so definitely your creativity and uniqueness shows there. The foundation aims to provide functional and well-designed dorm room spaces for first-generation minority college students. Through the Vogue Room LLC and the Vogue Room Foundation, Ebony applies her unique ability to combine innovative ideas with keen eye for aesthetics, resulting in magazine-worthy spaces that leave a lasting impression and resonate with the individual of their inhabitants. Congratulations for all these amazing things. Ebony, like, what resonates with you when you hear those things about yourself?
Is it me or what? Everything that like kind of wraps up my life in a nutshell. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to come here today. I'm curious. One question that, I take from Candace and one of my co-founders here that she always asks interviewees is like, how did you get here? And I think that's a great place for us to start. So whatever's on your mind today, how do you think you got here?
Well, I know that we initially connected during COVID. I think you followed me on Instagram and we just kind of, was in each other DMs. And then that exchange turned into like, hey, I got this bathroom, this powder room I need to decorate. And that was the e-design service. And from there, I feel as if you've been a supporter of the Vogue Room Foundation, and it just life comes in full circle.
It does. And I have to share, I'm gonna share it because, obviously the episode is gonna air after this, right? After this conversation. So when I say today, what I'm gonna share is I remember the video, and I'm assuming this is probably one of your most it has to be a viral video where you were going through talking about how to make a bed. And if you recall this video, right? Like that's how I met. And I was just like, I can't tell you how many times I watched it, but I was like, I'm gonna find that and reshare that. But I remember that, and that's how it started. I was just like, this is so phenomenal. And I had so much time in my house. It was like, okay, how can we, everything you said around us, the beautification of, your space and your unique way of designing it. And I think your customer service, which you don't have in there, all came through as a client. So I am excited. And it's been exciting to be a fan of the work you've been doing with your foundation. Let's get started. What I was thinking we can get started today is just, you mentioned, and I know that you had a background in tech, but have made this pivot. So let's first start with, young Ebony going to school, getting her master's, thinking what? What did you think that, hey, this is what I'm going to have a career in? I'm curious.
Yeah, I feel as if I knew at a young age that my career path would be something dealing with computers. I never forget, I was in 7th grade in Miss keyboarding class. And I just love like computer. I love typing and I'm like, hey, And so then when I went to high school, my high school had a computer engineering program and we kind of like, I remember we like dissected a computer and we put it back together. And I was like, hey, like when I go up to college, I'm going to major in computer information systems. And so I went to the North Carolina State University and I majored in that, got my bachelor's, and I graduated in 2008. And of course, we were kind of like right in the thick of the recession. However, computers was still, like I never forget, like one of my professors, he had a mainframe class because you have to think like a lot of those people were retiring at the time. And so he had a partnership with Bank of America. And half of my graduating class, they got jobs at Bank of America, but I went to the state of North Carolina. And so just worked there. And then maybe in 2012, that's when I kind of took a pivot in my career. I mean, I was still doing, computer information system type of work, but I had a job that I was fully remote, 100% remote, didn't have an office. Of course, in 2012, I'm like, wait, I don't have to go into a physical office. Like, what? So, of course, me, I'm young. I'm living my best life and just having my laptop, in my backpack. So I'm in New York. I'm everywhere visiting my friends. And so I did that for maybe like 2.5 years. And then I got more settled. I moved back to Charlotte. And that's where I'm from. And I was like, man, like I have all this flexibility. Like, I feel like I need to do something. And so, and I've always been great at decorating. I've always been a creative at heart. People used to come to my apartment. I just get all these compliments. And from there, like while I had this down, I was like, hey, I'm going to just like lean in a little bit more in interior design. And I knew I couldn't go back to school because I won't say I could, but I didn't want more debt. I had already got my master's. And so I was like, hey, okay, I'm going to lean into it a little bit. And so I just put myself out there. Like my friends were my first client. My family was my first client. And then, I started an Instagram page and I slowly started to post. And I never forget, like, what made me get really serious about it. I had decorated my best friend's living room and she had brown furniture. And we like added all these like blue and orange accents. It was popping at the time. Now she needs to that. But of course I went to Home Goods and bought everything. And so I added them and I would tag them and they reposted. And at that time, I think I had got like maybe over 20,000 likes. But of course, like now,
No, that's not shabby. No, there's somebody wanting 20,000 right now. So let's not poo-poo on 20,000, okay? You better
not these young kids. But it's so I was like, oh my gosh, like it felt so good. Like I need to get serious about this. So of course, I got my LLC. And I was doing both. I still worked a full-time job because I was 100% remote. And I always say, like, instead of, like, climbing the corporate ladder, I just took this gift, God-given gift, and leaned into it, and I just do both at the same time. Yeah. So, like, literally how I got here.
Wow.
Yeah.
So question, because, I think, you and I talked before, and I think, obviously there's going to be so many things that people can take away. What I hope people hear is we talk a lot about pivots, and I shared that with you. And I just feel like, you being this designer of this pivot, I'm curious, like, was there anybody that helped inform? Like you said, the first thing you did was, hey, I want to get serious about this. What did that mean for you when you said, hey, I want to get serious? And how did you know to go get your LLC?
Well, okay, so before that, once I was posting, I started building community almost because I knew I wasn't going to go to school. So I'm thinking like, hey, I'm going to still have to learn. Like, even though, you just think you're just decorated, but no, there's an art, there's a science to this. And I need to be able to, I need to be able to make it speak in my work, basically. So I started creating community. So started, networking, like the people on Instagram. I always say those are my first, like my ride or dies. That's how I found my design mentor. He was just literally an interior designer out of Raleigh, North Carolina. And we just started like talking back and forth. And then of course that kind of like, oh, okay, so how you doing this? And how you doing this? So he was a great guide for me. That's when, like I got introduced to High Point Furniture Market. And of course, going there, that's a community within itself because there's like-minded interior designers. Everyone is collaborating. Everyone is feeding off of each other. And then there's like little groups within High Point Furniture Market. So I got connected to the Black Interior Designer Market. And so that's how I started to learn the industry, even though, I just kind of like engulfed myself in it in a non-traditional way instead of going to school. Yeah, for it. Yeah.
I love that. And I want to make sure the audience doesn't miss on that because to your point, no matter where people are in their career, some key points that you brought out that I do feel like maybe underestimated is the community. And I think sometimes in a virtual space, it can be misleading, right? I always tell people to have make-believe friends. But what I hear you saying is like using social media to make real contacts and I think that's also cultural as well, right? Like I think we know like we don't want to go alone and seeing those things and being able to value what other people bring. So where do you think your sense of community started?
From family, from family. Like I grew up with, I mean, not only my mom, my dad, me, because my parents were young when they had, so there was always a community, but even though it was my family, but they were still community. My grandma, my granddad, my uncles, my cousins, everybody. So I think it started at home.
Love that. And I think we talk a lot about having a board of directors and there's people that thinks that it, has to be someone with a certain, level of prestige or in another level that we want to or that we want to be at. And that's good too, right? To have in your circle. And it sounds like you developed that, but not underestimating those folks that are around you and what they had to offer. I love that. I love that. Yeah. So good note. And then the next piece around networking. So what's your art? How would you say, as a designer, you thought about networking?
So networking, I feel as if I'm good at connecting with people. Some people not, but I like to follow people, that speak to my style that that I actually enjoy watching and liking and, rooting for them and everything. And so from there, these like tastemakers, they may have different events. And I just make sure that I show up. And, and not even so that's the thing I feel as if everything about me is authentic. I'm never trying to get close to someone with some clout or, for any of that. Everything is so genuine. And I think that when you go in with the genuine mindset, the relationship would just kind of like organically form. And so I'm just all about supporting. I noticed that like, as I go to different people networking events, they see you actually supporting, they see you showing up for them. And of course, it just forms it takes life of its own and form its own thing. Yeah. So you don't have to force anything. It's all about the flow.
Yeah. But I think that what I hear you saying too is that first step is your own self-assessment. And I think there's a lot of people looking outward, right, for somebody to find what they are. So you just showing up as your authentic self, and keeping it real, which we know is not only an asset, but it's rare, right? And probably why you are standing out in these rooms of like, oh wow, this person truly is here to learn, truly is here to connect.
Yep, that's so true. Yeah, because people aren't. They just kind of, we live in a society where people just want to take, 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 take. And it's like, yeah, you see someone and you reach out to like, hey, can you be my mentor? And it's like, hey, like, what can you give them? Kind of sort of like, it's like everyone want to take, 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 and not even get to know you, or it's like that. And you want them to be your mentor, but you might not even really like them. So I just feel like you just need to gradually create a relationship with people, and then see what happens.
I love that advice. So what advice, so someone is looking for a mentor now, right? Especially those that are looking to make a pivot or may kind of be, teetering there. I hear you saying of like between two careers, balancing two full-time jobs. What advice do you give that person on establishing, either finding a mentor or building that mentor relationship?
Yeah, of course, I would say study, study, study. Act like you about to date them almost. You just don't want to go in. But yeah, I've always like just studied people. You just see how they move, see if they go live, see how they talk, just see how they interact with people. And then you take it a step further if they are having a networking event or something that you can kind of get close to them. Then you start going to those events and start showing up. But I just think like first, just really study the person and make sure that like, hey, you want that person to be your mentorship. Make sure it aligns with your morals and integrity and things like that. And then I think it would just organically form.
Awesome. Love that. Let's fast forward to the Vogue room, right? You go
Yeah.
from this aspiration to this desire, knowing how you're wired, knowing these skills that you've had, these compliments, building community. Bring the audience fast forward to like maybe, I know you talked about creating a Vogue room, but like today as this established business that now can have an arm that's a foundation able to give back. Tell us a little bit about the Vogue room and the Vogue room foundation.
Yeah. Okay. So started the Vogue room. I was just thinking like, when I started the Vogue room, it was a long time ago. So as I am, decorating, I'm growing the social media account. I'm getting the clients that I want. For some reason, it just wasn't enough. Say it wasn't enough, but when I think back on the story, I want to say before the opportunity presented itself, like before I executed on the thought, I was just thinking because being back in Charlotte, and I'm not sure if you've been in Charlotte, but Charlotte is such a transit city now, and I'm a native. And so I see all these people just moving to my city. And I just see all these people doing these things. And I'm like, and then I get in Ubers and then they're like, oh, we talk. And they're like, I'm like, I'm from Charlotte. They're like, oh my God, you're a unicorn. I'm like, we still here. We still here. And so just seeing people moving into the city, seeing what they're doing, and I love what they're doing. But I'm like, hey, what about us local people? Then, I'm taking it a step further, like, what can I do? Because I'm talking about like, what about these people? Well, what about me? And so I literally was scrolling on Instagram. This was in 2018. I saw a post by Michelle Obama. It was like May when people were graduating, and I think she had just completed doing a commencement speech somewhere, and it was a picture of her at Princeton when she was a student. And she had this long message, but in a nutshell, she said that being a first generation college student, which I didn't know that she was, she said that it's a scary experience, but her message to college students going forward is to be brave and stick with it. And I'm telling you, I had my aha moment. I said, you know what? I'm a first generation college student and I'm going to decorate a first generation college student dorm room. It literally started there. I ran the idea over with like two close friends. And it was like, oh my God, yeah, do it. And I'm telling you, I was like, okay, so I'm gonna have an application process. I created the application in a day. I had a few connects in Charlotte Mecklenburg school systems. They got it out to their students, and only 2 kids applied. And one and the recipient for that year, he completed her application, and then lo and behold, she was going to my alma mater, North Carolina Central University, and she stayed 2 rooms down from where I stayed at my sophomore year. Yes, well, just doing that, paying homage to a university that pays, I mean, that placed so much in me. And just something about it just spoke charity once I completed it. And so I was like, I'm gonna keep going. And so then that's when I was like, okay, I gotta get the back end together. So I got my 501c3, not C3, and everything got approved. And here I am now, 6 years later.
That is phenomenal. I have to tell you, like, seeing obviously being adjacent to the social media, I've had a chance to see the things you mentioned in regards to the High Point group, your mentor. Like, I know you shared that journey. And then seeing this now page. So I have to say, like, it's actually like one of my favorite times a year. And maybe because you know how as you get older, you just see the kids and you're like, oh, this is so sweet. Love it. And I, just indulge myself for a minute. I think what it speaks to me is like, especially hearing your inspiration is taking yourself back to how you felt and giving back, but then being on purpose with knowing what your gift is, right? Because I don't know about you when you started school, but some of us were those college students that just went and got the bed in the bag from Walmart or JCPenney or wherever else, and you were lucky if there was a pillow in there. There was no wallpaper, there was no neon signs, there was no. You just had that dusty bed, and you just had the simple things. So but think about, while that may seem simple, those are things that help with retention. Those are things that help someone feel like I'm at home, I belong here. I'm not missing my house. Like it's really, or somebody that may not feel like they ever saw college for themselves is now in this space is like, hey, how am I chipping away at this, imposter syndrome a little bit? That's what I see when I see the kids and they just are like, so you see the dusty bed.
Yep.
And then here it gets cold, maturation of just this room, but creating a space for them to be successful. And you starting them off there. It's so awesome.
Yes, yes, I love it. I mean, they love it. I have one student, well, a few of them, they're like, Miss Ebony, I'm moving off campus. Can you decorate my apartment? What?
Right? I've also been, like you said, charity and me doing this, and now you're like a whole client out here.
Like, yeah, so I'm just super excited to, these kids, they decided to do something successful with their life. And so why not alleviate that burden out their plate? Because they have so much other things to worry about, especially being a first generation college student, because they may not have the support, they may not have the network, but yeah, just creating a safe environment. We're not just decorating the dorm room, we're creating like safe environments for these kids to like excel in their college career. So yeah.
That is awesome. And for those that are like curious and your interest has been piqued, in the show notes, we will have a link. I believe, how would somebody give? Like, is it like a certain time period? Tell us a little bit of like how you've gone from like one person to apply to now. It's a pretty competitive process now, right?
Okay. Girl, every year. So we typically, wait, what was the question about an applicant? How can they apply?
So if someone right now is an audience that's looking at it, whether it's for their child, if they would like, what's the application process? But then also like if they want to give, like if our audience is interested, like how does that work?
Yeah. So, okay. So if you are a graduating senior, well, the cutoff, the deadline has already approached for this year, but typically we will release the applications. Well, follow the page. The Vogue Room Foundation is on Instagram. The website is www.thevogueroomfoundation.org. You can find us there. Just follow along because sometimes things do change. But we typically roll out our applications early spring. And if you're a first generation college student, minority, Black or Hispanic, you can apply. And then there is a criteria with school, like what states we accept, but it doesn't have to be an HBCU or anything like that. Long as it's in the state that we list out, then you're good to apply. And then if you want to give to this awesome initiative, you can give year round. We love it when you give because it helps support us and helps, the students. You could just simply give on Instagram. There's a link in the bio or on the actual website.
Awesome. Well, we'll make sure, and I'll definitely share on my page. I know every year I try. I think I still need to give this year. I haven't yet, but I will definitely share.
Yeah, like every year. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but hopefully the reach will expand, right, this year with this. So I'm glad we get to talk about it and encourage someone right now. If it's tugging at your heartstrings, just hit share of this episode because there's somebody that may be inspired by this work as well, like you were, right? And it may take on a life of its own. So Well, Ebony, I have a couple more questions and then we will wrap up because I know you are in the thick of foundation season right now. So, I know you and I were talking about pivots. And when you think back and where you are now, because I know you're in a position where, this kind of different career choice has given you different options. So I am curious when you think about career pivots, what do you feel like has been the biggest, maybe, piece that has helped you be successful with your career pivot from, from IT to now design? Like, what do you think has been key for you?
What has been key for me? Well, I want to say this period that I'm in right now. I feel as if, me actually, having a career and working, the side, running a side business and a foundation at the same time kind of prepare me for this moment now that I am engulfed in 100% entrepreneurship. And of course, I've always used my things that I've learned in a corporate setting and applied it to my business and my nonprofit as well. Because I feel as if, the thing about like corporate and I loved it. I didn't want to leave. Like I feel like I was cheating on my corporate job with my business. It's so crazy, right? Because you go to college and you get this degree, and then you get this career, and then it's like something else that's just like taking you away from it. It's like, yeah, like I'm cheating on it. But I've embraced it and figure out that sometimes we don't have to choose just one path. And I feel as if that's like the lesson that I've learned in it all, especially me being a first generation college student, because it's like, oh, like you the first to go to college, you can do this and you do that. And then it's like you get there and you get this career, and then it's like, oh, but she want to open up her own business now. Like, make it make sense. But, I feel as if it has taught me that I don't have to be this one thing. I could, just be multiple things. And so I'm grateful for that.
I love that. And, as you were talking, it makes me think about, I don't know if your parents was this way, but like, as I was hearing, it's like, she got that good job.
Yeah, for nothing.
And you had this, this not only fear, but to your point around like really questioning yourself around being grateful around getting that opportunity and not wanting to fumble it, right? Especially in volatile job market, right? Of like, okay, hey, what if this does not come back around? But I just feel like, you're such a lesson of betting on yourself, but then also developing some bedrock, not only principles, but skills to be able to continue to be successful. So super excited. Yeah. So what advice? So somebody right now that may be in that piece where you were saying kind of like dual career, maybe they're feeling a little bit of like, oh, I'm cheating on my main job. What advice do you have for them around pivots? Like what advice would you give somebody else?
Keep going. Like that feeling, that feeling, that means you are on the right track. And people used to tell me that, and I used to be like, oh no. But like literally, it's so true. Like that feeling that you feel deep in your gut, and there's something else, like more that the Lord has in store for you. Lean into it. I would tell everybody to lean into it. Like we all have that special gift. Just lean into it.
Awesome. Fantastic advice. So we always end with, I don't like to say it's like a rapid fire, but in the true spirit of it being a 5-minute career hack, like 5 is our number. So I will end here and it's whatever leads you, but we always wrap up our interviews with it. You were to leave people with 5 words, or maybe it's 5 words that are resonating with you today. And it doesn't have to be a sentence. It could be 5 words, but let us know what those words are and why.
Okay, so I've been really okay. I'm trying to come up with a sentence. Okay, so and this is like 6 words, but okay.
We
Well,
can
my
do six.
sentence.
You can do six. It's gonna be 5 plus. It's gonna be a 5 the bonus. You get a bonus. You get a bonus.
Okay, so my phrase is hard work without strategy means nothing. I feel as if we this this era that we in, people hustling, 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 working hard, but without strategy, it means nothing. And I feel as if whenever you want to go to that next level in your life, you have to strategize. Like you have to plan it out. And if you don't know what that means, I would just say first, just start with like getting inspired by something. and then you plan that out and you execute and you dominate. Yeah.
Know that we got the 5 words plus a bonus, but then I'm also putting in my back pocket of that execute, that dominate, inspiration, all amazing words. Thank you so much, Ebony. What do you have any other things that you want to share with the audience before we wrap up?
I don't think so. I mean, just be on the lookout. The Vogue Foundation, we have some amazing things that's coming up this year. I can't say, like, some things I can't talk about until I just post it. So make sure you guys follow us on social media at the Vogue Foundation, and follow us on the website as well.
Yeah, I have to tell you all, you are in for a treat. I think Ebony posts so many inspirational videos. I'm actually doing some design now. I need to go back to your page and get some inspiration. Probably need to set up another, in form, right? I don't know if you take smaller clients now. At that time, it was just one-on-one, but definitely don't disappoint. I'm super excited that at this point, almost 5 years later, you're still thriving, still doing amazing things. So I'm so happy for you. And I just want you to know, I have just been blessed by your energy. So I know there's going to be somebody today or multiple people that'll listen to this episode and not only feel your energy, but also be inspired by this pivot and the continued pivots that you continue to make. So we thank you for the 5 Minute Career Hack.
So much for having me.
Of course. All right, guys. So check it out. As always, we ask that you like and share if this has blessed you, and we will see you next week.
I truly hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we enjoyed doing it for you. However, it doesn't have to end there. Come on over to our Facebook group community right now for free. You're going to get exclusive content that we weren't able to include in this episode as well as past episodes. We've got challenges, we've got research, we've got lives, you name it, all for you in bite-sized chunks so that you can continue this development journey. Go ahead, click the link right now in the description show notes, and we'll see you there.